بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة على نبي الله محمد بن عبد الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الذي أنزل الله تعالى في حقه وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين. Concerning the issue of ISIS and whether or not there are people who are doing the correct thing as relates to al-jihad and so forth and so on. Let me make it perfectly clear that we have extremes all the time. This is something that is peculiar to Bani Adam. People go overboard, either too far to the right or too far to the left. You have those people who are too rough and tough, and then you have those people who are too soft and apologetic. Just as I don't like the people who go overboard and they're rough and tough, I have the same contempt and dislike for the people who are apologetic. I'm not here to apologize about this religion. Everything in the religion of Islam is the haqq from alif to ya, from the beginning of the Quran to the end, and all of the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I don't want to be of those people who come and I'm always attacking ISIS and the people who are like ISIS, because it's just not ISIS. There are other groups. There are the sisters of ISIS, like Boko Haram in Nigeria, like Al-Shabaab in Somalia, like the famous group Qaeda, that due to the ignorance of the Muslims, many of them were supporting principal personalities from Al-Qaeda in the past. I've traveled throughout Africa, and when I was in East Africa, there's a type of vehicle that they have similar to the one that's here in India, the real cheap one where you get in with the 3 wheels. And I saw that they had pictures of certain people who were personalities from Al-Qaeda, and when he was killed, and Allah knows best, people were sad and people were upset. That's because people don't know this religion, and we judge based upon emotions. So the point is, before dealing with my topic, just as I don't like and I have to criticize, and you have to criticize, because the Prophet ﷺ informed us, لَأَدْرَكْتُهُمْ لَأَقْتُلَنَّهُمْ قَتْلَ عَادٍ. When he described the Khavarij, he said, if I were to catch them, if I were to fight them, I would annihilate them and pulverize them the way Allah annihilated the people of Ad, the way he decimated them. He said, in fighting them, there is a reward. So we're going to take that task and that responsibility. I don't need the media in the West. I don't need the UK government, the American government, to tell me to stand before our community to advise our youngsters about the evil of being extreme and radical. I don't need them to tell me that, because my religion already told me that's my responsibility as an imam. That's my responsibility. So we're going to criticize them. But for the record, I also dislike the other people who go to the other extreme. People who want to apologize about what Allah legislated, like this issue of jihad. There is jihad. If you're going to teach a book in Islam like Riyadh al-Salihin, the 40 hadith of Al-Imam al-Nawawi, you're going to come to some ahadith that talk about al-jihad. What are we going to do? Jump over those ahadith and bury those ahadith? No, we're going to explain them in the proper context. So I don't like the apologetic people who acquiesce, who come and they say jihad, it means to struggle, like going on a diet and losing weight is jihad. No, jihad means something in this religion. And ISIS, they're not doing the jihad of al-Islam. Instead, they're making al-fasad. I don't have a lot of time, so what I want to deal with are 4 or 5 very quick points. First point, I reiterate, ISIS is not the only crisis that we're dealing with. You have Boko Haram, you have the Shabaab, you have Qaeda, you have people all over the world who are extreme, and they do a disservice to al-Islam. And when I stand here and I talk to you people, I'm not talking to you from inside of a bubble. I'm talking about something that's theoretic. I'm talking to you about things that are real. We experience them in the UK. Those of you who have traveled to Europe, you cannot compare the tolerance of the UK government to any other European government on the face of the earth, America included. That doesn't mean that they love us, and that doesn't mean that they're in the Jannah, and that doesn't mean they're the awliya of Allah. No. In terms of tolerance, they have a lot of tolerance towards the Muslims, a lot. No comparison. Donald Trump, a few weeks ago, he made the crazy, ludicrous statement that we shouldn't allow Muslims into America. When he made that statement in the UK, the members of parliament, they debated that statement. And they said, we shouldn't allow this man to come to our country. Even if he becomes the president, we shouldn't allow him to come. Someone else said, no, we should allow him to come, but we should explain to him how idiotic he is. You won't find any other member of parliament doing that anywhere in the face of anywhere in the world, anywhere. But because of the extreme Muslims and the radical Muslims, that tolerance that the UK has towards the Muslims is eroding, and things are getting more difficult. If you want to win the race, if you want to win the presidential candidacy, if you want to win as a politician, just bring up this issue of fighting against extremism. That's all you have to bring it up. Although they're extremists, Christians, Jews, Sikhs, Hindus, but it's as if extremism is a synonym for Islam. So let us look at this issue of ISIS and Boko Haram and the Shabab of Somalia and these other people. And they're almost everywhere where you go. There are a few characteristics that these people have that the Prophet told us about, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we see it being manifested in them, that the young, intelligent, educated Muslim cannot allow himself to be duped into joining ranks with these people or embracing their ideology. The first two is what the Prophet said about them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the fact that he spoke about them and they were not present during his time. They were not present as a group during his time. So it's a proof and it's an indication that he is the Nabiul Haq. There's an ayat that says, Asa an takrahu shay'an wa huwa khayrun lakum. Another one said, Tahsabunahu hayyinan wa huwa indallahi azim. It may be that you hate something that is good for you. It may be that you think it's a small thing, but with Allah it's big. The reason why I use that is, although the presence of these people is negative, there is a silver lining in that, and there is something positive from it, and that is, have no doubt, Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Or how could he have told us about that? This is part of our iman in the qadr, that Allah wrote down things before they happened. 50,000 years. He created the heavens and the earth. He wrote down things 50,000 years before he created the heavens and the earth. So the qadr is part of the 6 arkan of al-iman. When the Prophet tells us about something that happens in the future, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how did he know about it? It's from the qadr. So there's some benefit in that. He said about them, salawatullahi wassalamu alayhi, in describing them, he said that they were hudathal asnan sufahal ahlam. They are young in their age, and they have crazy ideas, immature, crazy ideas that can't fly with normal human beings, with the intellect that's nominal, not some intellect that's on a higher level, Einstein intellect. You have to be a rocket scientist to understand. No, our religion is a religion, and our ummah, as he said, ummatuna ummatun ummiyah. Our ummah is illiterate. Not that the hadith is encouraging illiteracy, but it's telling the reality. If you gather up all of the Muslims, many of us can't read and write to this very day. To this very day. So Allah is not going to send a religion that's complicated. You pick up the Bible and you try to read it. It's very difficult to comprehend what is it saying. What's the message? The average person can't understand it. That's why any Amr, Bakr, Zayd can come and read it and interpret it. He has that freedom to do it. So with this religion, someone who has an aql and is normal, he can never buy into some of their ideas. They are young. You'll be hard pressed to find 10 fingers, any group of ISIS people or any group of extreme people, you'll be hard pressed to find 10 people who are above the age of 30. They're always youngsters who have youthful exuberance. Lack of experience and lack of knowledge combined is a cocktail for disaster. In our religion, as you sit there, you have to understand that the elders in this religion have been given a special place. That's not your culture, that's your deen. I come from a country where we don't respect the elders. We don't respect people in authority. I used to argue with my teachers. I used to argue with them, threaten them, because that's how the life is. But you come into the religion and you find those statements where the Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, al-barakatu ma'akabirikum. The blessing is with your elders. 2 men came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One of them, his brother was killed in Khaybar. They found his brother dead. He was dead. So he, along with his companion, they came to the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The one whose brother was killed, he was younger. He began to tell the Prophet what happened. Rasulullah did this with his hands to the 2 of them. Kabbir, kabbir. Let the older one speak. And it was his brother who was killed. Rasulullah told him, kabbir, kabbir. That's our religion. Man shaba shaybatan fil Islam kanat lahu nurin yawm al-qiyamah. Anyone who grows up and he becomes white, man or woman, yawm al-qiyamah, his whiteness, her whiteness is going to be nur. So some of the youngsters, he wasn't practicing the religion. He's 20 years old, 21 years old. He's practicing now. He sees an elderly man, 60, 70 years old, and he doesn't take knowledge from him and advice from him. This man has fasted 30 times, 40 times. He did 50 months of Ramadan. And you just fasted 4 years now, 5 years now. This man fasted 60 years of Ramadan. They have a special praise, a special praise. The people who are extreme, one of their characteristics is that they separate themselves from the elders, especially the elders who are the ulama. ISIS, Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda, they don't have a single scholar from amongst them, from any country. Any country. And that's a big problem. In the Quran, Allah Ta'ala mentioned, telling us the importance of this issue and the people who, when public affairs, issues that touch public safety and fear, Allah said in the Quran about the good people, وَلَوْ رَدُّوهُ إِلَى الرَّسُولِ وَإِلَى أُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْهُمْ لَعَلِمَهُ الَّذِينَ يَسْتَنْبِطُونَهُ مِنْهُمْ. If they would have only referred the issue back to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and those who have been endowed with knowledge, then they would have figured out and explained what the reality. People from ISIS, they are youngsters who don't have any guideposts for them. The second one is this issue of crazy ideas. Now I really need you to listen to me and to look at this from the prism of something that happened in the UK. Just imagine this. And when I say imagine, I don't mean pick it out of the imagination. Just think about this. In the UK a few years ago, a revert brother like myself, he's a revert. If the noon as-sakin, that's one of the many ahkam of tajweed in the Quran. All of you people here have to know about the noon as-sakin. It's wajib. It's fardu ain on everybody here. You don't have to memorize the Quran, but you have to read it correctly. And coming from India, you are Ajam, you're not Arabs. So we're going to make mistakes in the way we read the Quran. Allah said in the Quran, وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. Read the Quran correctly with tajweed. Our politicians, they shouldn't be ignorant people who don't know anything about the religion. they have to know some basics. You have to know some basics. So from the ahkam of tajweed is noon as-sakin. Here's an individual who's a new revert. If the noon as-sakin came and fell on his head, he doesn't know that that's noon as-sakin. And yet he puts himself forward and he starts saying, jihad, this is jihad, this is a kafir, and this is a kafir. And he doesn't know the noon as-sakin. Look what he did. Look what he did. He decided, as the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, crazy dreams, crazy ideas. He decided in the streets of London, to take a car to run over a man who's in the army from the non-Muslims, and then get out of the car and cut his head off in the middle of the street for the whole world to see. And he didn't run away. He didn't run away to escape the hands of the non-Muslims. He stayed there and he gave interviews to the whole world, telling people this is Islam, and Islam is coming to Europe, and if you don't, we're going to do this, and so forth and so on. That's what the Prophet meant, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he said, their ideas are crazy. Who does that? Who in his right mind would sever the head of a man in the middle of the street and say, this is the religion, and he doesn't run away to get away? In the UK, I'm not talking to you from some bubble, some theoretic situation. I'm talking about people who I know, situations that I know. So don't you come to me and start talking about the Illuminati, and don't you come to me with your conspiracy theory. That happened. That man cut that man's head off. We know those people. So beware of being the conspiracy theorist about everything. I know that there are a lot of conspiracies, but we disrespect the truth and the reality when we consider everything a conspiracy. This person, we know him. This thing that happened, we know it happened. A young kid was from Nigeria, where there's Boko Haram. And all you have to do is go to YouTube and look at the leader of Boko Haram when he was talking and shooting his gun. That's not the action of a person whose mind is there. Anyway. This young boy came from the elite. I know his family. His father is one of the biggest people in charge of one of the famous banks. The word how much is not in his vocabulary. You want to come to participate? You have to ask, how much is the transportation? How much would it cost me to eat? How much is the hotel going to cost? How much will I lose if I don't go to work on this day? The word how much is not in his vocabulary. He had an apartment that his father purchased for his family in one of the most expensive places in the capital in London, called Marble Arch. Expensive, £3 million apartment for him to study at a prestigious university. And all he had to do was study. What does he do? He gets on an airplane to go to America, and he has a bomb in his underwear. And he tries to blow up the airplane with innocent people on the airplane, and he says, this is jihad, this is Islam. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. He had everything to live for, everything to make his parents proud of. Now, when they caught him and he's in prison for the rest of his life, what has he done for himself, and what has he done for Islam? That's what the Prophet meant, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he said, Hudathal asnam, sufahal ahlam. Very young and crazy ideas. I can't begin to give you the examples in history. Qaeda, a few years ago, they planned on blowing up the biggest oil field in Arabia, the biggest one. Had they been successful, the smoke and the pollutants that would have come as a result of blowing up that big oil field, it would have killed innocent people up to 70 kilometers. What do they say? We don't care. They all die, and Allah will judge between them after that. That's not our religion. Our religion came to save people's lives. They have something in Islam called the Dururiyat al-Khamsa, the 5 essentials. Islam came to protect the blood and the lives of the people. And you're shedding the blood of innocent people, and you claim that the Prophet was upon that, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He told us in an authentic hadith, لا يزال المرء في فسحة من دينه ما لم يصب دم حرام. A person will have the chance to go to Jannah as long as he doesn't spill the blood that's haram. If he spills the blood that's haram, he's in trouble. He's in trouble. The third characteristic of these people back then and right now is that they are people of empty slogans. Be careful of these personalities, Islamic political groups, where it's just slogans. I take this microphone and I say, Al-Khilafa, Al-Khilafa, Al-Jihad, Al-Jihad, Al-Islam is the haqq, Al-Islam is the haqq. And all of that is true, and all of that is important. But establish the khilaf in your own life, in your own house, in your own life. Allah established it in the earth. Make jihad against your own desires. Learn your religion. Make jihad and don't be an ignorant person. Learn about the ahkam that are close to you, dealing with you. Learn about that. Learn about that. Al-Islam is the haqq, Al-Islam is the haqq. Then let us see that in your behavior. Don't just come with some kalam. So we have that ayah, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, lima taquluna ma la taf'alun, kabura maqtan indallahi an taqulu ma la taf'alun. Why do you say what you don't do? It is a terrible thing with Allah that you say what you don't do. The Muslims are telling the whole world, Al-Islam gave mathematics, Al-Islam gave science, Al-Islam, Al-Islam, Al-Islam. But when you look at our countries and you look at the condition of our people, the people say, oh yeah? So why are you trying to escape where you live to come over here to Europe? And when you do make it to Europe, why are you such a big strain, you Muslims, on the welfare system? Anyway, the father of the Khavarij, his name is Dhul Khuwaisira. He didn't have a group, but he was present during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. After making the distribution of the spoils of the war, this man came to the Nabi ﷺ and grabbed him in his collar and twisted his collar like this, to the point that you can see the mark in the neck of the Nabi. He said, Ya Muhammad. He didn't even call him with respect. He touched him. That's kufr, to grab him like that. For someone to disrespect the sunnah like that, to take the Quran and kick it. I saw an image on WhatsApp. Someone sent it to me and I wish he didn't send it to me. Some kid where we come from, he had cocaine, akramakumullah. Cocaine, a line of cocaine on the Quran, and he sniffed it, and then he said, Allahu Akbar. That's kufrun billahi. He said, hey Muhammad. The companions didn't call him like that. Allah said in the Quran, وَلَا تَجْعَلُوا دُعَاءَ الرَّسُولِ بَيْنَكُمْ كَدُعَاءِ بَعْضِكُمْ بَعْضًا. Don't call him the way you call each other. Ya Ahmed, Ya Bilal, Ya Abdul Salam. You have to call him Ya Rasulallah, Ya Nabi Allah, Ya Habib Allah. That's respect. He said, Ya Muhammad, and grabbed him. He said, be fair, because you were not fair in this distribution. And he grabbed this, and the Prophet grabbed his hand and pulled them off. The Prophet could have taken his wrists and popped them, broke them, because he's strong like that. He could have taken his wrists and popped them, broke both of his wrists. One of the companions who witnessed it, Umar, he said, Ya Rasulullah, he's a munafiq. Let me chop his head off, because no one with Islam would do that to you. No one would disrespect the sunnah like that. Rasulullah didn't say, go ahead and do it. He said, no. If you kill him, do you want the people to say that Muhammad kills his companions? If you kill him, the propaganda, the news is going to spread through the desert the wrong way. If you disagree with Muhammad, he kills you. They're not going to tell the real story. So the Prophet, he weighed the masalih and the mafasid. ISIS, they don't have that thing. Weighing the benefit and the harms. Should I divorce my wife? Well, there's benefits and there are harms. I have children. If I divorce, I'll be without a woman. I really need her because she helps my life. And then I have to look at the other side. She has bad akhlaq. It's really difficult dealing with her. And I don't like her family. And you have to make a decision based upon that. You don't just haphazardly throw caution to the wind and make a decision. When you spit in the wind, it comes back and smacks you in your face. You have to weigh the issues. Anyway, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he let the man go. And when he went, he told his companions, there's going to come out of that man's loins a group of people that go in and out of the religion the way the arrow go in and out of the game. Look at the empty slogan. The slogans begin with him. Ya Muhammad, be just, because you weren't just. I want good. He thinks that the Prophet is unjust, and that's why the Prophet said to him, Wayhak, woe unto you. If I'm not just, who from amongst you can be just? How in the world could he forget? This is the Nabi of Islam. He's the example of the haqq and justice. During the Khilafah of Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Khavarij came into a group and they became popular, and a lot of people went with them. And they had an empty slogan. Their slogan was the ayat of the Quran. The ayat of the Quran is the truth, but the way it was being used was an empty slogan. Ala inna al-hukm illa lillah. The rule is only for Allah. Only Allah can judge. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. So we find these people taking these ayat and these ahadith. Al-Khilafah, Al-Khilafah, Al-Jihad, Al-Jihad. We want Islam, it's us, we're the good ones. The hukam are no good, it's us, it's us. The whole ummah is in Jahiliyyah except us, us, us. Empty slogans. So the young person who is emotional, he has no religious knowledge, when he comes and he hears that empty slogan, he's taken away because of an empty slogan and not because of knowledge, sound knowledge. When a person is introduced and exposed to sound knowledge, that's what gives life to the heart of the Muslim, to the spirit of the Muslim. Not someone just because he can give a good talk, a good khutbah. No, real knowledge. Because without real knowledge, each and every person, he's in chains. He doesn't know what he's doing. But knowledge, it unlocks the chain. And it puts him in a position where he's free to worship Allah alone. Free to practice his religion in a way where it's not difficult for him. Free in a way to exist in an environment where no matter what his situation is, his knowledge enables him to exist. He's an astronaut, he goes underwater in a submarine, he's in Dar al-Kufr, whatever the situation is, knowledge helps him to make decisions. Lack of knowledge, he's like a waraqah, a piece of paper that just falls from the tree. Wherever the wind blows him, that's the way he goes. From the characteristics of these people that are pretty difficult, and it's the last one that I want to deal with, inshallah, is that these people bring no good to Islam. They harm the Muslims and they harm Islam. 15 years ago, when I went to Saudi Arabia, when I went to the UK, when I first went to the UK, the first time I went, my wife wears jilbab and niqab. We wanted to go to Umrah. We went to the airport. In the airport, the lady said, after looking at my wife's passport 15 years ago, is this the lady that's in this passport? I said, it sure is. It sure is. That's her. That's my wife. That's her. The lady said, okay, have a good trip. She didn't ask my wife to lift her niqab. She didn't ask anybody to come out to look at my wife. That's how things were. They were very sensitive to offending Muslims. Just go ahead, see you later, have a good trip. Some young kid in the UK, a criminal, he did a crime in a place called Bradford, where a lot of Asians are, Pakistanis, a lot of Asians, Indians live there. He did a crime, and when the police came to the scene, he took a knife and he stabbed and killed the policewoman. It didn't stop there. He went and he put on a jilbab, and he put on an ibaya, and he put on a niqab. The CCTV caught him getting on the coach, riding from Bradford all the way to London. So now the UK is thinking about banning the niqab. Banning is up for discussion. Why? Because of that guy. Do you not see how traveling in the whole world has changed? Now you have to take your shoes off if you want to take a plane. You can't take a bottle of water on an airplane. Where did that come from? That came from the people who fight in the name of Islam, and they're hurting Islam. You want to travel, you have to make sure all of your liquids are in a particular bag. Take your watch off, take your belt off, and not only that, in the airport, on the plane. If non-Muslims are threatened by your presence, all they have to do is go to the authorities and say, hey, I saw that guy, looked like he was praying. Looks like he was praying. And they'll come and take you off the plane. Where did that come from? Came from these people who, unfortunately, they harm Islam and the Muslims. And that's what the Prophet said about them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, يَقْتُلُونَ أَهْلَ الْإِسْلَامِ وَيَدْعُونَ أَهْلَ الْأَوْثَانِ. They kill the Muslims and they leave the people who are polytheists alone. And that's why, if I was there to catch them, I will annihilate them. I will pulverize them. In concluding, you young people out there, young brothers and young sisters, make something out of yourselves. Don't be like the two young girls from Manchester, twins, Somalis, 16 years old. They were very good in their education, very good. Both of them went to Syria and then to Iraq to marry Mujahideen. And then when their father went to get them, there was some fire play going on, and the father got shot. My daughter goes to another country and someone marries them without my knowledge. Someone married my daughter without my knowledge. How in the world can my daughter come to one of you people here from the UK? My daughter comes, Arwa, she comes, and then you as the imam, you marry my daughter. And the Prophet said, La nikah illa bi wali. I'm the wali of that girl. How are you going to be making jihad and you marry not one but two daughters off? Young people. She has children, 4 children. She's young, 26, young. She leaves the safety and the security of the UK. Her sister, and her brother's, her husband's wife, her husband's sister. They leave with 8 kids, the security of the UK, to go over to Syria where everything is demolished. Who does that? Who does that in their right mind? We have pure water. I'm going to put the pure water on the side and drink the water that comes from the Ganges River. Who does that? So you young people, if there was a lion, and I'm finished here, if a lion, a real lion, you know, these Bengal tigers, if a lion were to come into this auditorium, Allah forbid, I'm going to get out, inshallah. I'm going to jump and run over your heads to get out. Inshallah, I'm going to get out. That's how I feel. I'm not one of those people who, when the lion comes in, and I've only seen lions on TV, I'm going to say, oh, mashallah, look how beautiful that lion looks. He has a beard. He's on the sunnah. And I'm going to go to pat the lion like David did in the Bible. You always find these Christians wanting to go in the zoo, and he goes in the den of the lion because some prophet did it in the Bible, and the lion bites his head off. That lion comes in, I'm going to run over your heads to get out of that door. If you ever see someone, if you ever meet a person and he's inviting you, blow this up, kill this one, come with me, leave your studies, abandon your family, you have to run away from him the way you run away from that lion that came through that door. Because the harm that he does to you, your deen, in the dunya and the akhirah, is worse than what that lion will do. That lion will eat you. You may live, you may not live, but it's it. That guy, he's going to cause you to create a lot of unnecessary problems, not only for yourself, but for other people. So be balanced, be in the middle, and learn your religion. Learn your deen. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ونسأل الله تعالى التوفيق والسداد. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Sir, what about the war fought by the Prophet, as well as they are using the wars fought by Prophet as an example for fight against oppression? So what would you conclude from that, sir? Many wars were fought by our Prophet himself, and modern jihadists are using that as a reference for fight against oppression. So what would you conclude from that?
Like I said, the people were apologetic and they acquiesce. What are you going to do with all of those ayat of the Quran that command the Muslims to make jihad and tell the Muslims of the reward of the Mujahideen and the Shuhada? What are you going to do with the reality that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he himself engaged in many of the wars? What are you going to do with that? How are you going to tell us jihad is just struggling to get up for Fajr? Jihad is struggling to lose weight. No, when the word jihad is said, there is an idea that should come to the person's mind, and that is the jihad where you fight in the cause of Allah. And it has rules and regulations. So what do we say about, and to the people, these people who use these ayats and these ahadith? First of all, you should know something. And that is, like the great scholar from Spain said, Al-Imam Muhammad ibn Hazm al-Andalusi, he wrote in his book Al-Muhalla that the Khavarij, more than any other group, they use qiyas. They use qiyas. And what is qiyas? Qiyas is something that you use in the absence of text. When there's no Quranic ayat, no hadith, you use qiyas. Khamr, sharab is haram. Is there any ayat in the Quran or in the Sunnah that says that vodka is haram? No. But we use those ayats about being drunk and so forth and so on. We give that ruling to this ruling. But when there's a text, you can't use that. They always are using, before ayat and hadith, they use qiyas. If you're praying Salat al-Dhuhr and on the 4th rakat, the imam is down, but he gets up for the 5th rakat, you don't have to follow the imam in that. That's qiyas. So therefore, we don't have to have a leader when we want to make jihad. The people in this room, we can just be independent and do what we want to do. But in Islam, from the ahkam of al-jihad, is you have to have an imam. You have to have a leader. It's not for every Ahmad, Bakr and Zayd, Tom, Dick and Harry make decisions. إِذَا قِيلَ لَكُمْ انْفِرُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ انْفِرُوا. If it's said to you by the leader, go out and fight, then go out and fight. Not if it's said by Aisha, Khadija, Adila, Ahmed, Bilal, go out and fight, go out and fight. So they use qiyas. As it relates to these other ayat, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. Yep, so if you don't judge by what Allah revealed, they kuffar. Allah said they kuffar, then we got to fight them. There are some other ayat though. There are the ayats that explain that ayat. فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ. So they may be fasiq, they may be zalim, and they may be kafir. Why do you just go to the one? So what they do is they always use one ayat, one hadith, and they reject all of the body of ayat and hadith that explain this situation. Look what happened. Look what happened during the time of Ali ibn Abi Talib. The Khawarij broke off from Ali, and they were fighting Ali ibn Abi Talib. They were fighting him. Abdullah ibn Abbas, from the scholars of the companions, he went to them to debate them. Ali ibn Abi Talib said, no, I don't want you to go. They're not fair. These people will kill you, although you're not a combatant. He said, don't worry, Amir al-Mu'mineen. When he went and he started to debate them, the very first thing he said to them was, hey, you people, what is wrong with you that I see you here and I see the Amir al-Mu'mineen over there, and the first person to embrace al-Islam over there, and the one who the Prophet married to his daughter over there, and all of the companions are with him over there, and none of the companions are with you over here. And then some people is switched on. They say, you know what, he's right. And they left. And they left. Why? How is it possible that the ulama can be here and you're over here? You're against the ulama. And who are those ulama? Ali ibn Abi Talib was the best human being walking on the face of the earth at that moment. He accepted Islam before everybody. Khadija, Abu Bakr, Ali ibn Abi Talib. The first youngster to embrace Islam, Ali. The first grown man, Abu Bakr. The first grown woman, Khadija. The first slave, Zayd ibn Haritha. He was from the first four, this man right here. And he's over there and you're over there. So you'll find the people with the Khawarij, taking the ayats and the hadith out of context, where you just get one ayat and you leave the other ayat. Taha, ma anzalna alayka al-Quran. And then you stop. We have not revealed to you the Quran. And you stop. No, you have to keep reading the ayat. Ma anzalna alayka al-Quran litashqa. We didn't send this Quran down to make things difficult upon you. Waylun lil musallin. Woe unto those who pray. Don't pray. No, you got to read the rest of the ayat. You have to look at all of those hadith and all of those ayat, and the sum total of them will help you to understand. As for taking one ayat here, one ayat there, this is a problem. And I finish with this example. There's a man in the UK. He said it's permissible for a man to marry 9 wives. We said, where is that at? He said it's in the Quran. We said, where is that at? He said, Allah said in Surah An-Nisa, فَانْكِحُوا مِنَ النِّسَاءِ مَا طَابَ لَكُمْ مَثْنَى وَثُلَاثَ وَالرُّبَاعَ. Marry from the women, those women who are pleasing to you. Marry 2, 3, or 4. You got to count them all up and you can marry 9 women. We say to him, did Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, did they understand that ayat like that? No. The way they understood that ayat is, you can marry 2, or you can marry 3, or you can marry 4. As for adding them all up, you've taken the ayat out of context and you've understood it the wrong way, in your own way. And that's why we need those scholars. That's why we need those scholars. May Allah protect you guys with His divine protection from the evil and the harm of the Khavarij and the radicals and the extremists. But before leaving, inshallah, I oppose the Mutashaddideen. I'm against them. But I'm also against these other people. I'm against these people. Indian man, Asian man in Oxford University, a professor. He brags. He brags. I've married 50 Muslim women to non-Muslim men. The niqab is not from Islam. Everything, he does more harm against Islam than he has more enmity to Islam than the non-Muslim themselves. The educated, free-thinking Muslim. And if it wasn't for the Quran and the Sunnah, I'd say he's a kafir. But that's not my job. That's not my job. People like that, I can't stand those people. The apologetic ones, acquiescent. The religion is in the middle. وَتَمَّتْ كَلِمَةُ رَبِّكَ صِدْقًا وَعَدْلًا. This religion is true and it's the balance. We ask Allah to guide us to the Sirat al-Mustaqim. Don't be over there and don't be over there. Stay in the middle. Be Mujahideen, but Mujahideen with fiqh and fahm, with understanding and comprehension. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First time, this is my first talk in this audience. Clapping is not from our religion for the men. Clapping is not for our religion. The Prophet, he says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at-tasbih, he says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at-tasfiyah, at-tasfiq lin-nisa, wa-tasbih lil-rijal. That the women are the ones who clap. If the imam is praying, he makes a mistake, the woman claps to get his attention. The women. The men, they say, subhanallah. So clapping is for women. And it's from the way of the kuffar. وَمَا كَانَ صَلَاتُهُمْ عِنْدَ الْبَيْتِ إِلَّا مُكَانٍ وَالتَّصْدِيَةٍ. The kuffar of Quraysh, their prayer was nothing but clapping and whistling. So this thing about clapping, the Muslims didn't know this during the time of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's something that you should avoid. I hope you're not upset with me, but I have to say the haqq to you. May Allah bless you people.